the top of the hour on my watch anyway, so we're going to get started because we have a really exciting webinar, and I want to make sure that our moderator and our panelists have as much time as possible. We're going to start the recording now, and my name is Lisa Chase. I'm a professor at University of Vermont Extension, and I'm also the director of the Vermont Tourism Research Center. Today, we are discussing a culinary lens on agritourism. This virtual gathering is the 8th in a series leading up to the International Workshop on Agritourism, which will take place in Burlington, Vermont, in person, we hope, in August of 2022. As many of you realize, we had originally planned for this conference in person in October of 2020. We've postponed it a couple of times, and in the meantime, we've been meeting virtually through these monthly gatherings. And now that we have a whole nother year before we can get together in person, we're looking into other creative ways to strengthen the agritourism network. And we are open to new ideas for connecting new topics and new speakers. So if you have ideas, feel free to reach out to me directly. I want to mention that a major sponsor for the in-person conference and also these virtual gatherings is Yonder, a new booking site that promotes farm stays and other nature-rich experiences. Founded and advised by farmers, Yonder highlights stewards that have a connection to their local community, practice environmental responsibility, and exhibit hospitality that's reflective of this commitment. Through the Yonder site and app, guests can discover and book overnight stays and activities at farms in the US and now in Europe. Yonder has been expanding around the world, country by country, and they have been a very important partner for the International Agritourism Network that was launched initially at the first World Congress on Agritourism, which took place in Bolzano, Italy in 2018 and was organized by URAC Research. Since then, we've been planning for this in-person conference to take place in Burlington, Vermont in August of 2022. And of course, in the meantime, while we travel freely around the globe, we're continuing to build this network through virtual gatherings like this one. And we're going to get into our topic of culinary tourism in just a moment. But first, I want to get a sense of who is here with us. So I am going to launch a poll. You should see on your screen a question that says, describe yourself, check all that apply. Please take a moment to check as many boxes as fit what you do, all the many hats that you may wear. And also, if you wouldn't mind, go to the chat box and tell us a little bit more about yourself. And you'll notice that when you go to the chat box, you can, I think the default is panelists only. I haven't figured out how to change that. So if you're willing to share with everyone, select panelists and attendees and type in there who you are, where you're from, what you do for work or what you do for fun, and how that relates to culinary tourism and agritourism. I wish that we were all together, sitting in a room, and you could look around and see all the different faces and know what a tremendous diversity we have here. I have the privilege of being able to look at the registration list. So I saw that we had about 300, let's see, last I checked a few hours ago, we had about 370 people registered from over 30 different countries. And it looks like we've got around 150 people with us now. And so I realize there's so many people from so many countries who are doing such interesting work. And I want to give you a moment to share that in the chat. I'm going to end the polling and share the results. And interesting, you know, it's been interesting with these webinars to see what the different mix is. It looks like this one, and this may be one of the first ones where the highest percent, over 30%, is tourism professionals, we do have a good mix of 22% farmers, ranchers, producers, over 20% extension service providers, lots of nonprofit, government agency, educators as well, and business owners. So great mix here, and I really appreciate all of you joining us today. I am now going to stop sharing my screen, and what I'd like to do is introduce today's moderator. Katharine Millonzi is a consultant who advises hospitality, travel, and tourism ventures on strategy, sustainability, and business development. With a background in gastronomy and regenerative agriculture, and inspired by many years spent in her area of expertise is agritourism. She designs and facilitates cultural and leadership experiences around food and nature. Katharine is currently based in the Hudson Valley of upstate New York, and she has been a key partner in coordinating this agritourism gathering series, and especially today. Katharine, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Lisa, and welcome everyone. It's so encouraging to see the continued great turnout for these gatherings, which we created to connect people who love food and travel and farming. And I have the honor today to host this wonderful group of subject matter experts who I am sure will delight us with their knowledge and inspire us with their perspectives about one of my favorite professional and personal topics, one that connects us all, which is food. And as everyone on this call knows, food plays a large role in travel. Culinary tourism, also known as gastronomic or food tourism, is where travelers put local food and beverages as the main motivating factors for their trip. You know, polls tell us that food ranks alongside weather, accommodation, and scenery in importance to tourists. And I think that that is only increasing year after year. So culinary travelers, again, as you know, are ones that search out memorable eating and drinking experiences that they often can't find at home. This really encompasses a wide range of activities such as cooking schools, which feature local cuisine, cooking workshops, tours of farms who are producing special products, specialty food processing facilities. These are all becoming regular vacation destinations for tourists, and as is having seeking out meals featuring local food specialties. In every place we go, of course, we can find richness and variety of that particular place's gastronomy. And there's really nowhere better, in my opinion, or at least my experience, to have food and beverage memories made on the farm where those foods are produced. And I bet that many of you agree, since you're listening to this today. So I'd like to learn through a little poll, another poll, learn more about your experiences. So Lisa, if you'll launch that for us. So I'm curious, are you a host of an on-farm or farm-related culinary experience? Have you ever been a guest if you're not a host? If you've eaten, you probably have been a guest. Do you seek out local cuisine only when you travel? And do you seek out local cuisine in your region when you're at home? So these are quick yes or no questions, just to get a little temperature of our now over 150 people on the call. Again, welcome to you all. So many of you are not hosts, but many of you are guests and have been a guest on a culinary experience. So I'm curious if those of you who are not hosts are on this call to learn about becoming hosts or get inspiring ideas from our panelists today. 98% of you seek out local cuisine when you're traveling, and I'm delighted to see that you also seek out local cuisine in your region. So we have many members of the local food movement, as it were, here with us today. That's great to hear. What we're looking at today is how culinary tourism impacts the way that we understand and interact with our food system by emphasizing how unique foods and dishes really form the culture of a specific region. And one idea that we're weaving into our panel today is how culinary tourism strengthens the cultural identity of different territories, different regions. So how does a region become defined by the foods that are grown and eaten there? Like Tuscany for its beef, Chianina beef, or wine, or like Vermont, where Lisa is, for its cheese and maple syrup. And why are these important? And how can we market this taste of place and make sure that these products and people are celebrated and protected? And moreover, how can we do that in a way that honors the ecology of the place and creates economic and community development opportunities? So what is exciting for me today is that all of our panelists, although they represent different components of culinary tourism, they all offer examples of what I believe are the values associated with the new trends emerging in tourism, especially in the era of COVID. I won't quite say post-COVID yet. And these values that are coming to the foreground that I see and I'm encouraged by are respect for culture and tradition, authenticity, and social and environmental sustainability. And so with that, I want to turn it to our first panelist, Alex Retana. And Alex was born in Costa Rica. He's a self-described agriculturalist and dreamer whose hobbies are reading and collecting plants. And Alex's family has worked in farming for generations. He currently runs Finca Kobo, a farm stay and agro-ecotourism educational center. His dad was a great farmer, and inspired by him, Alex studied zoo techniques. And his dream is to create a sustainable production farm in the tropics that involves three components: wildlife, agricultural production, and human beings. Organic cacao production is the main economic crop of Finca Kobo, and they lead guests on tours through the cacao plantation and then demonstrate the various steps that go into making good chocolate. At Finca Kobo, they believe that production is closely linked to conservation. And as a farmer, Alex believes we have to establish places and structures within our farms that leave some space to nature. So therefore, they are working on creating various agricultural ecosystems on the property, which I'm sure Alex will tell us more about. The cacao crop occupies the major part of their property, but they also cultivate more than 6 species of bananas, star fruit, pineapple, maracuya, coffee, other tubers, papaya, citrus fruit, many more, totaling more than 30 species of fruit and vegetables. So Alex is going to kick us off in our discussion of the intersection of culinary tourism and agritourism today. Welcome, Alex.
Hello, everybody. I am very excited for this opportunity. When I hear you introduce me, for me it's funny because this is not my profession. I don't study ecotourism, I don't study turismo. My profession really is zootechnist. Yeah, I study to produce bulls and animals, you know. But in some moment in my life, for some reasons, I had the opportunity for the property because my father is a farmer, but my father is a traditional farmer. They produce in monoculture, they use agrochemics, they use and also the hybrid. In some moment in my life, I saw this is not maybe the best way to produce. For me, it was a big discussion with my father because I like to do different, but my father sometimes not accepted very easy. In some moment, my father give me some place of the property. I start to make a different agriculture. In some moment, I start to arrive at visitors. Great, yeah. My problem was the English, because my English is not the best. Some friend mine, Alex, don't worry, speaking show you work. In this form, in reality, I start to work in turismo. But for me, I start to do like agroecoturismo. Why? Because I like to eat. I like the fruits. I enjoy really to eat, The tropical lands, the tropical ecosystem is extremely productive ecosystem because the weather is practically the same. We have rain or summer, but no, these are 4 seasons. It's extremely productive. Unfortunately, we use now in the majority of the lands, in the tropical countries, very aggressive ecosystem. When the people produce rice or when the people produce coffee or bananas or pineapple, for example, it's a big monoculture, it's a lot of agrochemics. You know the history about, what happened. For me, was surprised because for me, it was very clear. This situation is not really nice. But in one moment, I discovered that the people don't have any idea where come from the food. Bananas, yeah, in the supermarket, bananas everywhere around the world, or pineapples, fresh pineapples. I remember for speaking with the people, okay, this is the pineapple, it's 90 from South America, for example, the production this way. And also I speaking about when there's production in organic way, for example, when there's many agrochemics. For me, today is very important because I think so when the people understand, the production is more sustainable, for example, where come from the food, the meat, for example, the eggs, the people have more information. When they make election in the supermarket or in different countries, it's possible make a big impact in the planet, because unfortunately the people today like a lot cheap, but this is not possible. For example, just imagine, one pineapple in Central Europe is around 2-3 euros, one pineapple. In Costa Rica is just 20 cents, for the farmers, for example, but still is good business. What happened is when we produce in organic way, the pineapple need around 2 years. This is the time, 2 years in organic way. But now with many agrochemics, hormones, and also pesticides, it's just 6 or 7 months, for example. Sure, the pineapple is very cheap in Europe, in US, in different countries, I think so. It's a great opportunity when the people traveling around the world, because the people need to eat. Every day we need breakfast, lunch, and dinner, It's great when you see, for example, the farmers, when you visit the farmers, for example, when you see what is the fruit. For example, I live in Costa Rica all my life, okay? The first time in Europe, I was in the tour for apple plantation. I was extremely excited because it was one of my big dreams to walk in the apple on the pier, for example. I remember I saw the trees, I saw the fruits, but I don't try in the moment. I like really to jumping in this tree, and to start for eat apples. For me, it was very clear. The next time when I am in Costa Rica, I working with tourists, with people, I will to show everything to try, because the experience is completely different, Yes, it's today, for example, my way to do the tourist, because the people, when they work in the production in the farm, for example, if we are in front of the sugar cane, the people try the sugar cane immediately. Or when you are in front of the mandarins or the star fruit, for example, you need to try the star fruit directly in the tree. The experience is totally different, For example, bananas is so funny. People just know 1 or 2 species of bananas, but bananas is around 120 different species. 20 grow in Costa Rica very well. Yeah, very, 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 very well, and very different tests, It's very good, is amazing. But in my case, I speaking more about the cacao, because cacao is the main activity in our property. It's really funny because cacao, chocolate, everybody know. I can imagine 100% of the people here today know when you think about the chocolate, the smell and the color, you know, this is normal for everybody. But the people sometimes don't have any idea about the process. For example, the fruit is very, very funny. I have some pictures. Lisa, maybe you have the pictures, because I like to show you some pictures for or fruit or tours. For example, in Costa Rica, ecotourism is very important, but agroecoturismo is now more and more important because many people produce in Costa Rica different fruits. For example, this is a group. They walk in the farm. We have specific trails. And now, for example, this group start to introduce in the cacao plantation. This trees around here is cacao, for example. Maybe another picture, Elisa. For example, this group, this girl have a star fruit. This is the star fruit, for example. And the other group have noni. Noni is a medicinal plant. It's family for coffee. The smell is horrible, but it's very, very well for cholesterol, many different diseases, for example. It's a very popular. But this is very different contrast. A star fruit is sweet, is very juicy, for example. This is medicinal, family for coffee, but the smell is horrible, for example. This is very funny, you know, very funny because are totally different families. The origin is and also for different continents, but they find Costa Rica in one property. And this is really, really funny. The people, for example, have this experience very, very interesting, yeah? The next picture, maybe. This is cacao, for example. This is cacao. Yes, this is very, very funny because when the people can see for the first time, the majority expecting the fruit is brown, the smell is like chocolate, you know, the color is like chocolate, but it's totally different. The cacao is amazing because when the cocoa fruit is ripe, the color is yellow, or in this case, red, for example, and we need to open the fruit, for example, to take the seeds out. Maybe the next picture, I think, is, yeah. For example, you see here, normally the cacao produced constantly, but in June, July in Costa Rica is the high season for rain and also for the production. We harvest all the cacao, and you see this like white seeds. This is the cacao beans. The taste is like, maybe you know, rambutan or lychee, for example, in US. This is the taste is juicy. It's purple inside. And the most important in cacao, for example, is to make fermented or fermentation process. This box, for example, we put the beans for around 5 days. Practically the embryo for the cacao die. The cacao bean have many chemical process inside. It unbelievable. It's like miracle because in 5 days when you open the seeds, it smells like chocolate, for example, and the color is brown, but the process is not ready. In order to continue the process, when this is ready, the next step is to dry the beans. For example, in the next picture, Lisa, maybe you see, this is the area to dry the beans. This is a very, very important because after the fermented, the bean is very wet. It's very wet, but we need around 20%. The humidity in the tropical land sometimes is not really, really easy, but in summer it's okay. Okay, when we have like 20% humidity, in order to continue the process, we need to roast the beans to make cacao or export the beans. Normally, the majority of the companies buy beans around the world. Costa Rica export more blocks because the price is better, and also we produce criollo. Criollo is the best cacao. It's one heirloom cacao. It's very aromatic, and the smell is wonderful. But this cacao is more have more problem for the diseases. For example, Lisa, maybe the next picture. Okay, well, this is a picture. For example, you see here the yellow fruit. This is the fruit. The beans. This beans is roasted. We need to roast it, for example, as possible. Sure, in ovens is around 20 minutes. When the beans are ready, the beans make a noise similar to popcorns, but the smell is wonderful, you know. This is the most important You need to take out the beans for the oven. You remove the skin, you grind it, and you have like this powder. For example, you see, this is the cacao powder. This is 100%. This is bitter. This is the cacao. Sometimes the people don't understand the difference between cacao and chocolate. Cacao is this one, 100% beans, just we grind it, you know, this is cacao. And the chocolate, the combination for sugar, milk, and cacao. This is the basic chocolate, for example. But during the tour, we are speaking about, because sometimes the people ask me, Alex, what is white chocolate? You know, this is really funny because the people don't have any idea. The white chocolate practically is not chocolate. The white chocolate is just milk, for example, cocoa butter. It's not really healthy chocolate, you know. When you like healthy chocolate, you need to buy, for example, 60% or 70% pure. Maybe the next picture, Lisa. Okay, bueno, I like the other picture, maybe the next picture. Okay. Remember that now we're speaking about the agroecotourism. Okay, in our case, for example, in our experience, the people, the first need to walk and to see where come from the fruits, the production, the history, for example, in the process about the cacao. When the people are ready in the information, the people arrive in a special place. If the people have, for example, watermelon, this is white pineapple, this is watermelon, this is banana, square banana, black banana, for example. This is the chocolate cake and the chocolate sauce, okay? This is the end of the tour. For example, the next picture, Lisa, maybe? Yeah, this is the group. Okay, for me, it's a very important when the tour is at the end, the people take a seat. There's many questions, for example, between the people and also question for us, but it's very, very excited for me because I can see the people try the cacao, for example, the people try the white pineapple, because it's really funny. Everybody know pineapple is yellow, but you need to know this is one hybrid. The heirloom pineapple is white color. Unfortunately, the people or the companies produce more yellow because they produce faster, or the color is more attractive, for example. But in my experience, it's very nice. It's very nice because in Costa Rica, ecotourism is very important. The majority of the people is in the beach. The people like to see the monkeys, for example, the jaguars or the toucans. I am speaking about the agriculture because it's my passion. The plants in reality is my passion, you know. I have also the opportunity to do something in the sustainable way, because these students, for example, these groups and also families, when they come back in the another countries, the people remember, in some place in Costa Rica, somebody explained me the pineapple is organic, is better for the environment, or this, for example, potatoes is organic or is locally, or the milk or the cheese or the wine, whatever, you know. This is my point. My point is, with ecotourism or agroecotourism, we can do a lot. Information is very important in this moment, because when you have more information, you make better election for the food. This is, for me, important. Yeah, this is my topic about the tourism, the farm. Yeah.
Thank you, Alex.
You're welcome.
That's lovely to see. And we have some questions on how people can get in touch or have more information with your work that I see Becky is putting now into the chat. So thank you, Becky. And our next panelist is Tom Morphew. So we're going to go from the tropical forests of Costa Rica across the pond, as they say, and start to migrate into the kitchen through Tom, who is a regenerative farming consultant and founder of Full Circle Farms, the same farm where he started his farming apprenticeship, as I understand. And Full Circle Farms are truly unique farms based in West Sussex and London. And they produce vegetables on a small scale without the use of pesticides or herbicides. Full Circle Farms wants to help people think differently about horticulture and agriculture and the world surrounding it, as well as informing people about the food that they grow and their benefits to health and well-being. They work closely with chefs, which Tom will tell us more about. And the farm provides a great opportunity for these chefs that they work with, as well as other visitors, to learn where ingredients and food comes from, as Alex was speaking to, and make those connections between flavor and soil and production. Tom also works with an initiative, a hotel, I believe, called Birch, which is on 55 acres, 30 minutes outside of London. And he is also the founder of the Garden Army, a nonprofit company helping people with mental health and well-being through horticultural therapy. So while we'll be focusing on culinary connection today, I'm sure Tom will illuminate us how all of his many hats come together. Welcome, Tom. Thanks for being here. I'm gonna unmute yourself if you can. There you go.
Here I am. So hello everybody, I'm Tom, or Farmer Tom as I'm known down here. I'll give you a brief kind of update about how I got started. So many years ago, I was involved in horticulture, agriculture, and hard and soft landscaping most of my life. We had one very bad winter one year, and I took a job working for Tesco's, which is a big supermarket chain over here. When I worked there as a deliveries manager, I then really kind of got to see firsthand the amount of food waste that was being thrown away. I was reversing lorries up to huge skips, and we were unloading all this food into skips. I didn't last very long in that job. Working inside a factory in a big office was not for me. So then I went to work in a city farm in central London, which I set up. It's there where I learned that not everyone knows about where their food comes from, and they don't know anything about plants or how it's grown or the importance of decent food as well. So when I left that job, I came back to Sussex and we started on the farm in West Sussex here called Little Woolstead Farm. And that was the first farm we set up. And that was the original farm where I started my apprenticeship on 20-something years ago now. We've since moved from that farm. We've set up the farm around Birch, a hotel. And our aim now is to educate people on where their food comes from, the importance of knowing where their food comes from and how it benefits them. We then took that on to the next stage and we started collecting food waste from restaurants. We'd then bring that back to the farm and then we'd turn it into compost. We'd put that compost onto the field and separate the field into plots. We then rented those plots back to the chefs we'd taken the food waste from. A lot of these chefs are Michelin star famous chefs. And then we rented plots of land to them and we grew all of their fruit and veg for them and delivered it back to their restaurants. So that's what we were doing a couple of years ago. And from that, we've now developed our care farms. So the idea was that we'd always build these farms to produce amazing fruits, veg, meat, eggs, and supply restaurants and eventually local veg boxes as well. But once the farms were up and running and they were built, we then use these farms as care farms. Care farms are places where people can come if they're they're suffering from stress, anxiety, depression, or any other mental physical disability. They can come to the farm and we can find tasks for them to do and get involved with, which takes their mind off of their problems and they're focused on doing different tasks. And we can then help them grow as a person to go either back to work or we can provide jobs for them. And that's through the Garden Army. So the Garden Army brings people in, we all work together, and then from that, if they're responding well to horticultural therapy and it's something that really helps them, we can hopefully offer them a job within Full Circle Farms, building more farms around the southeast here. This is kind of where we are now. The farm where we are now in West Sussex, just up the road from my house where I've just come from, we have a brewery on site. We have what's called a tap room, which is like a mini restaurant. We've got glamping pods going up. So now you can come to the farm, you can stay at the farm, you can have some amazing beer made on the farm, and you can get involved in a tour of our farm and how we grow and why we grow the way we do. And then you can book up to get involved and get your hands dirty as well. Because it's now scientifically proven if you do get your hands dirty, that makes you feel better. We are part of nature. We tend to forget this a lot. But if you get your hands dirty, the microbes and things in soil get into your body, mix with your body's microbes, and that makes you feel better. Your body releases endorphin, dopamine, and makes you feel happy. These are the happy drugs you would normally be prescribed by your doctor if you were suffering depression, anxiety, and things like that. But nature does it naturally, surprisingly. So that's what we kind of encourage on the farm. People to come, get involved, learn where the foods come from. And from that, we can hopefully educate people, encourage builders to grow at home, and we help people set up farms as well. So we were due to be in Colombia in August. That has now been cancelled because of the C word, which we won't mention. So that's all been cancelled now. But we were supposed to be going out to Colombia to set up a farm on a regenerative hotel site there, which we will do eventually. We're also going to be going to Italy to help a couple set up a farm there, and Portugal and Morocco as well, where there's some chefs who want us to go and help them build farms, get farms set up around their restaurants, so you can really get that food to fork, field to fork, system going, which is really important to us. So we do a lot of outdoor dining events on the farm as well. We've got several chefs that signed up to renting plots. One is a huge market garden, it's 4 acres, and they will be doing dining experiences within the farm. So there'll be a long table amongst the crops, and you'll sit there and we will literally grab the food, cook it in front of you and put it on your plate. It does not get fresher than that. And in that process, people are often coming back to me saying, well, what's this weird liquid coming out of our salads and things? For all these things that are coming out of their salad, this white liquid coming out of their lettuce, for example, is all the amazing minerals and nutrients and things you'd normally get from your salad. But the majority of people never see that kind of thing because they don't get their salad until 5 weeks after it's been harvested, once it's gone through all the transporting system. So it's just little things like that that wake people up to the importance of having food in your back garden, front garden, wherever it's going to be, growing your own food. So from that, we've set up, as was mentioned earlier, the Garden Army. And the Garden Army is our new non-profit organisation. It's something we used to do within Full Circle Farms. We've separated it now. It's a separate company by itself. And that is all about helping people using horticulture and agriculture to help them heal. And in that process, we can then produce more farmers as well with a different mindset. You don't need big tractors and lots of chemicals and things. You can do it with a single man, can have an acre farm quite happily and produce a lot of food. So we're now educating people, training people, giving them the confidence to do that, so they make themselves feel better and they can go off and set up their own farms. That's what we're about. And we've seen the trend on this becoming more and more popular. Since the first lockdown over here, we're now in our, I don't know what it is now, 3rd, 3rd, 5th lockdown. From the first time we went into lockdown, my phone and email went mad. Everyone wanted to know how to grow their veg at home. So this certainly became more and more popular. And now you can't buy compost, you can't get hold of seeds. Everyone has brought all of this stuff, which is great. So there is a massive trend coming our way of people really want to know where their food's from. They're shopping more locally now, and I hope this carries on. I hope this isn't just a trend because they don't want to go up for supermarkets. And hopefully these smaller farms now can really capitalise on that, and we can get more people onto the farm, and we can help these farmers diversify to earn more money. This is part of my other job. I'm a consultant, and I help other farms look at different avenues. We look at setting up different food systems on the farm. We look at turning their farm from it just being a chemical kind of store for bad farming techniques. We like to change it around to a more regenerative farm, help benefit those landowners. Sometimes these landowners have just inherited farms and they don't really know what they're doing. They get Joe Blogg's farmer up the road to come and do it for them. They just spray it with chemicals and they rape the land until it's worthless, and then they hand it back, which is no good for anybody. So we come in and we look at putting in some regenerative systems to save that land, to regenerate it, and then look at getting some tourism in there as well to help people kind of get involved and learn from that as well. So that's where we are now, and very busy with it.
Sounds very busy.
Yeah, it is.
And please do, just as a reminder, if you have specific questions for any of the panelists, you can put them into the Q&A. If you're interested in any details about any points they made, or how they're working with chefs, restaurants, on-farm culinary events, etc. So throw those into the Q&A. And also, while we're listening to Jane Connelly, our third panelist today, Jane is passionate about and inspired by culinary heritage and gastronomy experiences, identifying them as engines for sustainable development and the preservation of culture. She spent 10+ years traveling the globe, eating and cooking with curiosity and enthusiasm of a true epicure. Her education in the US, Spain, and Mexico, and her cross-cultural work experiences provide her with an inimitable perspective and unmatched insight into destination development projects, initiatives, and strategies. She's contributed to numerous successful international food tourism initiatives, such as the European Young Chef Award and the Food Treks Food Travel Summits. Jane holds a master's degree in innovation and tourism management of culinary heritage and gastronomy from CETT, University of Barcelona. And Jane is going to help us put the culinary tourism connections into a larger international context, looking at which motivational factors are driving culinary tourists to seek out local food and beverages. And in doing a little research, Jane, I noticed that a 2016 poll or survey by the World Food Travel Association shows that 93% of travelers can now be considered food travelers if you define them as travelers who participated in a food or beverage experience other than dining out at some point. So with that, we welcome you, and thanks for being here.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. I'm really happy to be here. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge Alex and Tom for the amazing work that you guys are doing. It's absolutely wonderful and amazing the work that you're doing. So I'm going to zoom out just a little bit further and talk more about culinary tourism more in general, and how agritourism fits in to culinary tourism. So I'm going to share my screen. One second. Okay, can you see my screen? Yes, okay. Great, so I'm going to touch on some similar ideas that Katharine actually mentioned at the beginning of this panel. And I'm going to keep it short because I know that we are running out of time here, and I want to keep time for questions. So the idea of culinary tourism. Culinary tourism is the act of traveling for a taste of place in order to get a sense of place. So these are travelers who are going out of their way to experience a local culture through food and beverage. What I like to do today, specifically when talking about agritourism, is focus on the culinary side of culinary tourism. So I want to touch on culinary culture assets of an area. So here you have examples such as local recipes, cooking techniques, customs, heritage, local ingredients, traditions. These are all of the local culinary assets that then tourism products and experiences can be built upon, right? So when we're talking about how these culinary assets fit into tourism, we ask ourselves, what is the importance of cuisine to tourism? Oftentimes I look at it the other way around. I have the tourism angle looking at cuisine, but I decided to flip it around and question really what is the importance of cuisine to tourism. When we're talking about agritourism, these are the local raw products. How do these farming techniques, the products fit into the lens of tourism? So Lisa, I have a poll ready for this. The question is, what makes a culinary experience memorable to you? It can be the unique ingredients used, the cooking techniques, the story behind the dish, the chef, the farm, the restaurant, the farmer, maybe, Alex, Tom, the environment, ambience, or something else. All right, so yeah, I saw Tom's reaction, and I'm really happy about this as well. And I think this tells a lot about the importance of just this panel and this entire workshop. The answer was the story behind the dish, chef, farm/farmer, is what makes a culinary experience so memorable. That's great. So moving on, I'm going to close this. Memorable experiences. All right, so we have the culinary culture assets. We know that the storytelling is important. So then we have to add the culinary tourism element, which is transforming these products, these stories into experiences. So in culinary tourism, some of the most popular experiences are, visiting a market, obviously wine tasting, brewer tour, cooking classes, food tours. So the next idea is, what is the culinary lens on agritourism? How does agritourism fit in to these memorable experiences? First of all, it creates an authentic taste of place. So when you're experiencing a culinary event, a dinner, a tasting, and you're on the farm and you're with the farmer, you're with the local chef, that experience is giving you an authentic taste of place that you're not going to get probably anywhere else in the world. Next, it adds value through storytelling. So when you're creating a culinary tourism experience, it gives you some structure and framework to offer the story around the product. So Alex, is producing these amazing fruits and vegetables, but the moment he gets to the table at the end of his tour and he has everyone around trying the fruits and vegetables and the cacao, he gets to really tell his story from start to finish. Next, it builds relationships between producers and consumers. I think that Alex and Tom both really hit on this point, and not only that it builds relationships, but it's through these relationships you're building awareness and education, as well as it becoming something a little bit more accessible, right? So maybe I'm a city girl, I'm urban, and I don't really feel myself going out to work in the farm, but all of a sudden I see that there's a brewery on a farm. Well, that's maybe something that I'm used to, right? I can go, that's accessible, that's normal for me. And so through that avenue of this culinary tourism lens of me grabbing a pint, all of a sudden I find myself on a farm chatting with Farmer Tom and learning about the new varieties of lettuce that I didn't even know existed. Next is that it enables cross-collaboration. So when you bring in culinary experiences, you're opening the table for collaboration. So maybe Alex, he grows cacao, but maybe he doesn't actually make the chocolate. So perhaps he gets in touch with the local producer down the road who makes the chocolate, And then they invite the local chef who's going to make a mole out of the chocolate or something similar. And in one space, you have brought together main actors of the area that represent the local agriculture, the local foodways, and the local culture. Highlights local intangible culture and heritage. So a lot of times culinary tourism experiences, they don't just stop at food, right? You can be in an area that maybe you're surrounded by local art, maybe there's local music playing. I think that when you're looking especially at agritourism, culinary experience, you have such an amazing and unique stage that will tie in, I think, much more of your unique intangible heritage that you could imagine. And it's important to acknowledge that and bring that in because culinary visitors are looking for that. It facilitates gastrodiplomacy. So the moment that you have a group of travelers and visitors, maybe from all around the world, sitting at the table, trying your local products, discussing the farming techniques, discussing the local dishes that they're trying, they're opening their minds. They're probably having discussions that they've never had before. Again, it comes back to what Tom and Alex both talked about, is this education and awareness about real food. Where does it come from? How does it get to me? What does it mean? How has it changed over the past? How can I make better decisions? So it all comes back down to this sharing of ideas while sharing a meal. So talking about consumer trends towards culinary experiences, I have another poll here, Lisa, if you want to pop that up. So at the beginning, we know that a lot of you have participated in a culinary event, but now we're asking, why would you participate? One, because it's outside, rural, fresh air, safe. It's sustainable and ethical. You know that you're doing something. It's an ethical, responsible decision. It's local and unique. Or I know that it's on a farm, and so the food is going to be high quality. The winner is, it is local and unique. It is local and unique. I'm also not that surprised by this answer. I think that culinary tourism by design is local and unique. Great. So moving on. So here's just a quick slide about recently trending activities that are in favor for agritourism experience, that are in favor for culinary tourism experiences on farms. Like Tom said, there's this heightened interest in gardening and urban farming. There's more awareness around supporting local producers. There's more interest in cooking and in discovering artisanal foods. All of these trends that we've seen, especially since last March, these are positive trends towards agritourism and towards the culinary lens, really combining everything and not just leaving up producing food, but creating a culinary experience for your visitors. So to finish it off, offering a curated culinary experience is a unique selling point and a competitive advantage for your farm. And that's it.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you for such an eloquent and clear summary, bringing all of these elements together. And we have just 5 minutes left, so I want to do some quick answer questions if we can. We have one question that is for, it says for Alex, but I think it's for Tom. And how do you incorporate or plan to incorporate local traditions or approaches to regenerative farming when you're going to work in different places around the world to set up your farms, as you're being asked to do?
So one of the things we do in Sussex is we like to encourage a lot of people to learn about proper Sussex crafts. So one of the things we're doing at the hotel is we've got a lot of big hedges that are really overgrown, and we've got sheep up there. So instead of us buying lots of metal sheep fencing, we're going to lay the hedges, which is an old Sussex tradition. So we are going to use as many of these old traditions as we can. And we invite people to come and get involved with those tasks as well. So one year we're going to do some hedge laying. If I'm in a different country, we're probably going to have a chat with some of the farmers there. It's rebuilding some stone wall boundaries and things. We'll put those things back in place and try and keep things as traditional as possible and using all the different traditional techniques. The thing within horticulture and agriculture, there's always something to learn. I've been in it for a long time now, but I'm still learning new things every day from older generations and younger generations who have gone to universities and colleges, and they're learning different things and coming out with those ideas now. What I've found is a lot of this older knowledge we are losing. These older farmers and older landowners are getting older, retiring or passing away, and no one's been there to uphold all that knowledge. And some of this knowledge is invaluable and it's going to help us in the future as well. So I spent a lot of time trying to talk to old farmers, which normally means in the pub, which is a great shame. But that's where we can gain a lot of knowledge from these old farmers and old traditional kind of crafts as well. And we always look to reuse them on the farm, even down to our machinery. My tractor is from 1956, and we've got a potato planter we've been using today, and that's from the mid-50s. These are all really old bits of equipment and things, but they still work. And the same goes to some of the old crafts as well. They're really good old crafts to sort of learn and still use. So we try and use a lot of the old crafts and old ways in the way we farm. Our kind of saying is we need to go backwards to go forwards. We need to go back to an old way of farming where we didn't cover everything in chemicals and artificial fertilizers before the First and Second World War, basically, and use those techniques to save our soils moving forward. And we try and mix the old ways and the new ways together, but still protect the environment we live in and work in as well.
Thank you. Yeah, luckily there are pubs or pub equivalents everywhere one goes. So to gather and to exchange humanity and information. We're at the top of the hour, and I just want to invite our panelists to look at the question and answer, and there are quite a few open questions that are directed towards the individual. So if they may stay on for a moment and answer, that'd be great. Otherwise, I want to thank you all so much. We always have the feeling at the end of each gathering that we could spend hours talking about each topic, and are so inspired by all of your work. So thank you very much, Tom, Alex, Jane, and I turn it to Lisa to close us off.
Thank you. I promise I'm not going to ask you another poll. There we go. That's the slide I wanted. Yes, we still have a lot of outstanding questions in the Q&A and in the chat, as buried in the chat as well. So in closing, what I want to do is, first of all, thank Katharine, Tom, Alex, and Jane, our, amazing moderators and presenters for sharing their experiences, but also thank all of you for showing up, for engaging, for asking questions. One of the first questions to ask was, how do we get in touch with the panelists if we want to follow up afterwards? That is one that I will take the last 30 seconds to answer. Within the next couple days, we will post this recording, and we will also post on our website contact info. Our panelists have graciously agreed to share their contact info, so you can reach out directly to them, as well as their slides and resources and other resources that they would like to share. So within a couple days, we'll send an email to everyone who registered with a link to agritourismworkshop.com, where you'll find contact info and follow-up information. You'll also find there information about our next gathering. We have one more planned, and that's on May 11th. We'll be talking about regional agritourism strategies for community economic development. And we'll hear stories from Georgia, Iran, and Canada. And then we're planning to take a little bit of a break for a few months, but then we are gearing up to come back with a whole new series starting in the fall. So we'll stay in touch over the summer, but hope to see many of you during the next month on May 11th. And, then we'll figure out other ways to stay in touch virtually until we meet again in the fall. So thank you so much, everyone.